Hey y'all, let's stretch your legs. For this practice, you'll want a comfortable place near a wall and something to pad your knee with. So you can use a mat if you have a carpet, great. Or I would grab a blanket so that you don't feel any irritation in your knee. Grab what you need and I'll see you in a moment. We'll get started standing, wide stance, a little bit wider than your shoulders width distance apart. Hands will start on your hips and we're gonna take some standing good mornings. So that will look like a hip hinge, a soft bend in your knees. You'll send your butt backwards, your chest forward, and think about sending your knees slightly back as well. And then come to stand and squeeze your butt at the top. So we'll try that about 10 times, coming forward and standing up, another 9 like that, hinging back, pulling your belly in. Try to keep your spine nice and neutral and core engaged. Here for another 6 and 5, 4. If you can go lower than halfway, you're welcome to. Last 2. And on the last one, we'll hold here. Pulse your chest a little bit down, a little bit up. Here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and fold over your legs. Soften your knees so that your belly connects a little bit more to your thighs. It's okay if they don't touch. And really relax the back of your neck. So you can nod your head yes and no a couple times. You might find a gentle sway from side to side, straightening one leg and bending the other. Think about lifting your butt, pouring the weight forward towards the balls of your feet rather than straightening your legs. So you're almost just leaning in the shape, and that'll create some tension to stretch your hamstrings. Gorgeous. Come up to stand. We're gonna address some tightness in calves and quads next, and we'll come to a wall so you've got something to balance with and something to use for resistance. We'll start with the calves. Take one of your feet, press the ball of the foot against the wall, the other foot back behind you, a little bend in that knee, and then think about pressing your chest into the wall. Couple more beats here. Step back and just switch your feet. And if you don't have much ankle mobility, just work with the body that you're in, right? And try and get some part of the ball of your foot on the wall. It's okay if it's only your toes. Gorgeous. We'll come out of that, but we'll still stay at the wall, and we're gonna do some quad stretching here. So kick one heel into your butt, reach to the outside of the ankle and try and catch the foot. You can hold onto the shin, ankle, or if you can hold all the way onto the foot, great. Think that your inner thighs zip a little bit inward towards each other, and you kind of wrap the heel back behind you so it's in line with the sit bone. Tuck your tail, pull your low belly in, and lift your chest up a little. And then find a gentle kick into your hand while you bend at the elbow and pull your heel into your butt. So doing a lot at once, and all of these opposing cues will help you feel a sensation of stretch in your thigh. Point your knee to the ground, thighs in, kick your foot back, pull your foot in. If you want to play a little bit here, you can bend your standing leg and reach your knee backwards. You might find a little bit more opening in the hip and knee as you do that, or rather quad. Great, we'll just switch to the other side. So kick the other heel in towards your bum. You can hold onto the wall or do this freestanding. Same engagement in the core, so belly pulls in, tail reaches down, inner thighs drag in, pull the heel into your butt and kick the foot into your hand. Point the knee towards the floor. Take a few moments here. You can stay exactly like this, or if you played a little bit with the bending and reaching the knee back, really think that you drive the knee behind you. Gorgeous. Let that much go. We're going to use this wall again, and you might want some kind of padding for your knee. I mean, you'll definitely want some padding for your knee unless you're on a carpet. So stick your favorite leg back behind you, and then the other leg will come forward. First, you're going to set up your knee on that cushion with the top of your foot or the ball of your foot on the wall. Top of the foot will be a little bit more intense, so you might want to go for that. And then step the other foot forward. Start with the 90-degree angle in this front leg and focus on pulling the belly in and actually sitting back onto the leg and keeping the chest tall here. Very similar sensation that we just found in standing. Then from here, you can take a few bends into the front leg and draw the stretch up into the hip flexors a little bit more. Good. Gorgeous. We're just going to switch that out. So remove that foot from the wall and swap to the other leg. Do what you got to do to get yourself oriented and balanced. It's not always simple to balance like this, as you can see. Pull the belly in, sit back towards the wall, tall chest. And then find a few bends into the front leg. Sit the hips lower, whatever that means in your body. And you can let the knee pass the ankle. Good. Remove yourself from the wall, come away from that. We're going to find a seat onto the ground. You might sit on top of a cushion if you have a hard time sitting upright here and really getting on top of your sit bones. I'm just going to show you from the side, right? So if when you're seated down on the floor, your spine looks like this, I want you to sit on something, or at least try and orient your pelvis forward so that you roll to the front of the sit bones and you can get up a little bit taller. For most people, they can't do that because they have really tight hamstrings. And when you elevate your hips, your hamstrings are at an angle now because your pelvis is higher. And with people with shorter hamstrings, they'll have a easier time articulating in their pelvis once they're up. Okay, with all of that preamble out of the way, you've got that nice V shape out in front of you. Think about a 90-degree angle between your thighs, and then draw your right foot in towards your left inner thigh. Take your arms overhead, find some space here, and then drop your left hand onto your left leg. You can keep this arm overhead or plant it onto your right thigh. Take a stretch over towards that leg. You'll feel it a little maybe in your inner thigh as well, outer hip, side body. Good. Drop your hands in the center, fold between the legs. Could be hands on the ground or elbows down. You can feel free to stay in each of these shapes longer than I'm cueing, but we'll move on to the other side. Just switch your legs out. Find that tall seat, stretch the arms up, feel length, and then drop towards the straight leg. Again, hand can stay overhead or come to the thigh. Try to orient your chest towards the open shape, towards the inside of your leg. In this case, towards the left. Maybe sliding your bottom arm longer and dropping your torso towards your leg a little more. Come into the center, hands down, maybe elbows. Good, good. Peel yourself up. You can cross at your two shins. Great work. Feel free to rinse and repeat anytime your legs feel really tight. Those good mornings are a great way for you to practice active flexibility, so working your strength as well as your flexibility. Thanks for moving with me. I'll see you soon. Do you want me to stop recording every time I finish one? Just keep going on everything?
Yeah, if you have enough hard drive space.
Okay.
I don't know how much time you're spending in between.
No, I'm gonna go right into the next one. I just wanted to ask you. Okay, tight hips. All right, we don't need anything for this one. Alrighty. Speaking to you, Wes, this is for tight hips. We'll get started on the floor in a bear sit. So you'll take your feet out wide, pinky side edges of the feet onto the ground, and then your knees wide and your toes are pointed out. So the goal is to try to have your knees at a 90-degree angle, your hips at a 90-degree angle, and your ankles. And you do what you can with where you are. You might use your hands to kind of crawl your feet in closer so you really get the hips at that 90. Catch somewhere onto your shins, maybe your ankles, lift your chest, and then drop your elbows towards your inner knees. And just use the upper body to press the knees wide. I don't know why it's called bear sit, but somebody said that, and I appreciate when people have terms and names for shapes, and that way we can build a common language together so that we all know what we're talking about. So as the elbows press down, your chest might start to drop a little bit forward here. That's great. Lift your chest, swing your hands to the floor back behind you. Keep your feet as they are. Windshield wipe your knees to one side. So you'll drop both knees towards one side and lift both knees, go to the other. And I think about keeping the feet flexed and rolling over the heels here. Good. So we're gonna make this a little bit more challenging. Walking your hands in closer, you can keep using your hands on the ground. If it feels available, no hands on the ground, you can just do whatever with them in front of you. And this shape kind of moves a little, it travels a little, it might travel forward for you. So from here, we're gonna add more again. Next time your knees are on the right, we're gonna take a good morning over the legs. So you've got 90-degree angles in your knees and a 90-degree angle between your thighs. You can use hands on the ground if this feels really tight and challenging for you, or hands lifted. Drop your chest as low as you can, and then as soon as you can, lift your hands if you're using the touching the ground method. Over to the other side, same idea here, good morning over the legs, and then back up. Good, so you'll take that side to side about 3 more times each side, taking a good morning. Beautiful. Once you're done with that, you can wag your knees out a little side to side. And we'll take ourselves into a seated figure four. So plant your feet flat to the ground in front of you. Your hands can step back behind you for now. Take your right ankle, cross it over top your left thigh, and then spin that thigh away from you. So you're using your strength here, no hands. Walk your hands in. I like to tent up onto my fingertips here with my fingers pointed backwards. Lift your hips up, stick your butt out and lift your chest up, and then drop the hips down. Lean forward. And just breathe into it. With hip stretches especially, I notice that the longer I make my exhales and the more I stay, the more space I find in the hip. If your fingers start to feel tense, you can always put your palms more towards the ground. And we're just still in it for a couple more breaths. Good. Lean back, walk your hands back, unhook the ankle and take it to the other side. Left ankle hooks and you use the strength of your hips to push the thigh away from you. Walk the hands in. Float your butt up. Create that little arch in your spine. Think back bend, stick your butt out, lift your chest up. Drop down to the highest point on your sit bones and keep going forward if you can. If your chest dropped, remind it to lift up. Take several more breaths here. Good. Walk your hands back, unhook your ankle, and then you'll sweep your legs around. We're gonna find our way into a frog. So if you're on a matted area, you'll want the long ways here. If you have a carpeted area, it won't matter, but you'll toe, heel, or rather just scooch your knees wide. So if you have never done a frog, I would start with your big toes together underneath you. Let your knees go wide. And then start to walk your palms down in front of you. If you can, drop down to your elbows. If you get down here and you're like, cool, feel like I can breathe. I'm not straining for breath. Feel pretty calm. Then you might take your feet and widen them in line with your knees. If this starts to feel a little bit stressful, you might distract yourself by rocking a little bit forward and back, or gently tugging your heels inward, kind of meeting in the middle somewhere. And I want you to stay slightly back and just breathe there. As we work with flexibility, some of it is tissue related, like the actual muscle tissue of the body, but the body exists also with a nervous system, and that is deeply connected to our ability to relax into things, feel open, feel flexible, feel available. So while you're here, try and cultivate that inner sense. Opening your hips, elongating your breath, and relaxing your mind. Good. Walk your hands down. You can bring your feet together, scooch your knees together, give yourself a second in a seat. Good. Last thing we'll work with is either pigeon or a 90-90 pigeon. So we'll find the bear sit again and transition into that 90-90 bear sit. Knees go to the right. This is a 90-90 on the floor. From here, I could just walk my hands down and fold and treat this like my pigeon. Or if I feel available to straighten that back leg, I'll think roll the left hip towards the right heel and try and square the hips towards the ground. I can always do this up on my hands too. If this feels like impossible to do with a straight leg, stay with the bent knee. Not quite exactly the same thing, but it'll get you a close enough stretch. You can feel free to pause and spend 2 minutes here longer if you have it. Otherwise, you'll take 3 more breaths. Good. We'll transition to the other side, either going all the way around or just switching your legs. If you did the 90-90, set yourself up and fold. If you did the pigeon, try and orient your right hip down towards your left heel. Start to walk your hands in, float your chest up. If you need to shake anything out, you can take a few windshield wipes, shake all of that out. That's great work. I hope your hips feel a little bit more open. And these are some great foundational shapes for you to have in your back pocket any day you have a tight hip situation happening. See you all soon.